Good morning, children. I'll just give you a brief explanation of the story, The Little Match Girl. The Little Match Girl, it's actually, you can consider it to be partly a fairy tale, but it is not completely a fairy tale because in fairy tales we find something which is not natural or not common or normal which we come across. For example, as in Cinderella, we see a pumpkin turning into a carriage. But here, what are we finding? We are finding a girl who is very poor and she is all alone in the New Year's Eve in the cold outside. She cannot go home. Why? She cannot go home because she has not been able to sell any matchsticks as her father had sent her for. And as we can see, why is she afraid? Because her father might beat her or probably scold her because of not being able to do the work that has been allotted to her. Now, when the story opens, we find a girl, little girl, poor little girl, in a cold and gloomy weather, bareheaded, barefoot, which is very, very unnatural in a biting cold. Like, you can understand it's the 31st of December, how cold it will be over there. And moreover, she did not even have slippers or shoes. Now, one of the slippers she could not find, and the other one, what had happened is a boy had run away with it. And you will see in the story, it is written it in very handy as a cradle someday when he had children of his own. So, this boy was equally poor because what was he doing? He was taking this slipper which he would be using probably when he gets married, he has children, he's going to use it as a cradle for the children. I think you might have seen how when little babies are swayed in cradles. So he's going to use that slipper for this purpose. Now, see, such pretty explanations, imagery has been used by the author. The snowflakes fell on her long golden hair, which curled so pretty about her neck. She is a very, very beautiful, pretty, cute little child. But that was not important at this moment. At this moment, what was important for her was because it was New Year's Eve, and obviously she was hoping for some warm food, warm clothes, warmth, and some kind of love and care and concern from her near and dear ones. But she had nothing of that. She huddled down in a heap in a corner formed by two houses. It was a corner which was formed by two houses, and there she is taking shelter. Now, what we find is she cannot go home, as I've already told you earlier, because she had sold no matches and earned not a single penny. And it is clearly mentioned over there, her father would be sure to beat her. Such a little girl on a New Year's Eve, because of her condition, how poor she is unable to get the warmth, the goodies, or the good things that actually she should be getting. Moreover, she is not even able to go home because she is frightened of her father. Now, what does she do? She's the only one thing that she could think about when she was sitting in this corner is light the matches to warm herself. Now she pulled one out, scratch, how it spluttered and burned. It was giving her warmth, as if that little bit of matchstick, whatever warmth that was giving. So she was also happy with that. And she imagines. See, actually she imagines those things probably she was craving for. And the first thing that she imagines is the great iron stove, which symbolizes warmth, which she is actually wanting in this cold weather. And she imagines that she is sitting in front of the stove and she is enjoying the warmth when the match burns. So you have seen how long will the matchstick burn, and therefore again she is back in that cold. Now she strikes the second one. It burns very clearly, and when the now again the light of this matchstick, it fell on the bricks of the wall, and for her, for a few moments, that wall became semi-transparent, and it seemed that she could see through the wall into the room. And what does she see? It was a beautiful platter set on the beautiful china. China means material with which the crockery is made. And there was the roast goose stuffed with prunes and apples. Prunes are dried berries. Apples, steaming hot. And she's hungry. So it is very natural that she is imagining food is in front of her. And her imagination runs wild when she finds that the goose comes down with a knife and fork on its back and waddling up as a duck moves towards her. And that moment, what happens? And at that very moment, the light goes off. That the matchstick burns down. And what happens? Because the matchstick burns, again her vision is dark. Again, there is no more vision which will give her that either warmth or curtail the hunger that she is going through. Now she strikes the third match. And what does she find? She's sitting in front of a Christmas tree, so beautiful, very nicely decorated, and probably she never had the opportunity of having a Christmas tree of her own, but she might have seen somewhere else. There were candles and gaily colored balls, and she had looked on shop windows and she has seen them. But this was something out of the world. This was something very beautiful. So here also, craving for freedom, craving to enjoy the beauties and goodness of life. Now what happens at that moment? She sees that there was a star, falling star, and as her grandmother, whom probably she loved a lot, and the grandmother had said that whenever a star falls, a soul goes up to the god or a person dies. And then what she does? She struck another match. So another match, when she strikes, she sees her old grandmother standing in front of her, because now she was craving for love, care. And the moment she sees her grandmother, she is excited and she calls out, "Granny, you please take me with you," because she doesn't want to stay in this despair, in this difficulty. And what does she do? Because she has seen that earlier, when the match is actually burnt out, what happened? The stove vanished, the goose vanished, and the Christmas tree also vanished. So now what does she want? She thinks the grandmother will also vanish, and thus what she does is she lights all the matches, whatever is there, and to keep her grandmother back with her. Now what happens? The matches flare, they blaze, and the grandmother looks very, very beautiful, because probably now she is also going to her grandmother. And she knew probably that she was about to go to her grandmother, and therefore she is going to die. And once a person dies, doesn't have any hunger, doesn't need any warmth, she's already free, the soul is free. What do we find at the end of the story? But in the cold dawn, so what does she find? As said the little girl, rosy cheeks, smiling lips. Lips are smiling when she's frozen to death, because in her death she has received freedom. The dawn of the new year rose on the huddled figure of the girl. It was something of a new time for her. She was probably not in this earthly earth, but heavenly pleasures have taken her away, and that's what she is actually blazing in the glory of those heavenly pleasures, because now she cannot feel any kind of difficulties, adversities, the hunger, lack of warmth, lack of love, concern, care. Now she doesn't need, because she has gone above everything. So the story, which starts with despair, ends on a mode of hope, where the girl, though she dies, obviously she dies, which is obviously a loss, but she, the girl herself, has attained glory by her death, and she has gone with the person whom she loved the most, her grandmother. In her vision, in her thought, And that is why death is something which was not here, can be considered as something dark. Here, rather, it is considered to be something glorious and enlightened. I hope you have understood whatever I have tried to explain. Go through the chapter, read the chapter again, and go through the analysis and the summary that I have given. I have also given a set of questions and the answers to that. Go through them, try to understand, read your text, and try to balance your answers with the questions. Finally, I have given a set of reflective questions. You don't need to write them. Just sit and think about them. And when we come back to school, we are going to discuss all those answers. Please, children, stay safe and stay fit, and all the best.